language, Brazilian body language, Reed, grab it.
A man went to a restaurant in a foreign country in which he did not speak the language. He ordered something indecipherable off the menu. The waiter returned with a delicious-looking plate of food, and the customer, showing his satisfaction, flashed his hand gesture. The waiter looked furious. He took the plate of food, turned it upside down, threw it in the man's lap, and left in a rage. The man sat there flabbergasted. He had no idea what had just happened. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Welcome guests. Monsieur Toastmaster, bienvenue, or however you say it in French. This poor man probably had no idea that the same hand gestures and body language can mean vastly different things in different cultures. For example, very simple, this can mean hugely different things in other places. In fact, some of the ones I just showed you can get you killed in some countries. Ooh. However, that's another speech. That was a great teaser, wasn't it? Nowhere did I learn this lesson faster, the significance of the different meanings of different body language in different cultures, than when I lived in Brazil. In my last speech, I spoke about how I lived way down in southern Brazil for 15 months, well over 30 years ago. Tonight, I'd like to share with you briefly 3 ways, timer, 3 ways the Brazilians use their bodies to speak, sometimes saying the very same things that we do, just in a different way. 1, simply hand gestures. 2, the way that they initially greet you, sometimes on their property. And 3, simply physical proximity. So let's start simply with hand gestures. What does this mean in this country? If I went to you, what does that mean?
Okay.
It means okay. In Brazil, this means F you. Or giving someone the finger. In many countries it means that, and sometimes worse. Have any of you seen, I haven't seen this much anymore, but you know, like a kid's waiting for his mom to pick him up or waiting for the bus. I haven't seen this much recently, I guess because we have other things to occupy our hands like cell phones or car keys. Or in Brazil, that means something completely different, which of course I found out. Late at night, way out in the suburbs, I had worked probably an 18-hour day. I was exhausted, not thinking. Other people were waiting for the bus. The bus showed up. My coworker and I took our seats, and he turned to me and he said, in Portuguese, he said, "Don't you ever, ever do that in Brazil." He said, "That means you're looking for a prostitute, and those girls were looking at you." I went, and I think I had actually been told that before once, but you know, the little things you do with your body that you forget about, you just have to be reminded of. Oh well, a year and 10 shots of penicillin, who cares? But the point is, no, you just forget about these things. Second thing is, when you approach someone, bad joke, I know, grammarian, write that down. When you approach someone on their property in Brazil, especially in rural suburban areas, their homes are almost always surrounded by a fence. So it's considered bad manners to open the gate without their permission and knock on the door and ring the doorbell. So you stay outside the gate, and then how do they know that you're there? Well, in this day and age, we have smartphones so we can text, "I'm here," or fly a drone over their house or something like that. But the formal way to do it is, does anyone know? You clap. And sometimes you hear this chorus of claps that echoes through the village. It's really kind of a serene sound, but that is exactly what they do. And whoever's in the house, they seem to always know it's your house they're clapping for. It's really interesting. Another way when you greet someone in Brazil, for example, they're doing a dirty job. They're working in the garden and their hands are filthy. To me, out of politeness, I would say, my hands are dirty, I'm sorry, I don't want to shake your hands. They have a different way of being polite, and that is, they want you to shake another body part. Look how quiet everybody is. Go to Brazil, find out. That's the elbow. Truly, you shake their elbow. How many of you have had your elbow shaken? If you do that well, you must be part Brazilian. I can tell. Thirdly is simply the physical space that they share with each other. Physical proximity. In this country, we tend to all like to have our physical space. In other words, if people get too close, the first thing we think is, what do they want from me? What do they want from me? Or if they get too close and we don't know them like this, I tend to go, ugh, they ate toxic waste for breakfast. Brazilians aren't like that. They have a much closer sense of physical space that they feel comfortable with. They're more relaxed with it. It's not as big of a deal. It's much more likely to see men being more physically affectionate with each other. It's very common to see women walk down the street holding hands and nobody freaks out and says, I'm writing the National Enquirer. Nobody cares. It's just a smaller sense of physical space, and that's how they feel comfortable. So different things mean different things in how they express themselves in the body. So I've talked simply about how physical gestures, greeting people, physical proximity are very different in Brazil, communicating sometimes the very same things in a different way. So I think it's important to be aware of how we use our bodies in this culture and in other cultures, so we don't get killed and we can come back to the best place on Tuesday night, Toastmasters.